football fans, and welcome to The Onside Kick. My name is Ricky Widmer, and we got a full house back here as Dave Oster is back from his vacay in Michigan.
Hey, guys.
And Mark Weber, you're back from last week.
Yeah, I was here last week. Unlike Dave, who was on mandatory suspension.
Your paternity leave came to an end.
Vacation.
Mark, we just couldn't be here at the same time for a while. I don't know. Was it you?
We had some trouble. Every time Dave and I were in the same room, we got into fights.
But injury bugs are raining all over St. Louis. And Dave, I'm going to let you start with this because your boy Sammy Bradford, today, it's going to be announced in like 5 minutes as we're recording this officially. Sam Bradford, torn ACL, out for the season.
Yeah, it's fantastic news. Everybody loves it. Smiles, rainbows, lollipops. Bunch of told you so's on my part. I think it's a great move. The team will go forward without him.
It's a great move. An injury is a great move.
Hey, it worked out for the Jets, you know? Get rid of Mark
It did work
Sanchez.
out for the Jets.
You got Geno Smith out there still trying to quarterback.
I would say trying to quarterback. That's the most appropriate term I've ever heard.
He's giving it a shot. You know, Mike Vick was like, have fun out there, kid.
Yeah, no, this Rams team has a fantastic defense. Nothing's going to take away from that. But Sam Bradford was the wrong quarterback for the team. He has been a underperformer, injury-prone quarterback the entire time in the NFL. And I'm just hoping the Rams finally take this gigantic clue and move on without him. Take the cap hit, cut him, be done. Use Shaun Hill this year and go out and get yourself a pretty good quarterback in the draft.
Should they use Shaun Hill or should they go out? There's quarterbacks like Ryan Mallett, Kirk Cousins. Those are two that we've thrown out in the past that, hey, you can go ahead and trade for if you want to be competitive because they're still in the NFC West, the most competitive division in the NFL.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't, but I'm a pessimist about, the NFC West. I think it's a ridiculously stacked grouping of teams. Unfortunately, you plug in any of those quarterbacks, and I still don't think that they have a chance to make a playoff run. I do think they'd be a very good team, but I still think this defense can drag them to like a 6-10 season still with anybody at quarterback.
I will say this actually is a good year for this to happen in a way, because this has been the year of Johnny Manziel is our backup quarterback. Blake Bortles will be sitting the entire year. This is a year where people are going back to old mentalities when it comes to quarterbacks. So I think maybe St. Louis is going to say, all right, we're going to have, Shaun Hill. If that doesn't work out, maybe Austin Davis. We'll find out what happens because we don't have a quarterback. We're going to have to get one next year.
Well, and maybe it's the Chicagoan in me. When I first saw that Sam Bradford torn ACL, yes, it's the same knee that he injured last season after playing 7 games, but the Chicago in me was like, I'm going to relate this to Derrick Rose in a way. Is Sam Bradford going to be able to come back from this after sitting an entire 2014?
I think it's possible for him to come back. It's just his track record right now is so checkered that obviously his contract is just bloated. I think that's the number one thing he's got going against him right now is that
he was the last quarterback with the big rookie
right.
contract.
So this year it's $17 million. Next year it's just shy of $17 million going against him. But if you were to be cut and come back on another team as a backup, maybe fighting for that starting role, I think there's potential there for him.
See, but I'm not even talking about fighting for it. Look at this. He gets the surgery last year midseason on the torn ACL. Then, not even a complete year later, he re-injures it.
Yep. He needs a new doctor. I mean, I don't know what it is. Maybe it didn't take as well as he would have hoped. Maybe he didn't do enough rehab. Maybe it's just a freak accident that it happened again, the exact same knee.
But is this going to be, do you think this is going to be a career ender for Sam Bradford?
No, not a career ender.
I think he's still young enough, and I think he can still come back and play. It's just I don't know what team will take the chance on him, and I think they'll do like the contract that the Bears just did, where it's completely provisional around that injury. It's if you have another injury to your knee. In the Bears' case, it was with Santonio Holmes and his ankle, I believe, or his foot. But it's based around that. So it's like, oh, well, if you screw that up a third time in a row, that's not on us. We're just going to wipe you out. But, we still want to see what you have left. And I think there's still interest in Sam Bradford.
And there's a lot of teams that get in this situation. We see it with Jacksonville where they have a young quarterback, but they also bring in the kind of veteran out there who say, you'll probably be starting You're going to be our guy with Henny.
You're
and he can do good
talking.
things.
You're basically using the Jacksonville as like the model.
Yeah, so
'Cause that's what they're
I think
doing.
what you can do for St. Louis, in a way with Sam Bradford, maybe even with another team that has a younger quarterback, put Sam Bradford in there, maybe give him that lesser contract, let him do his thing, and if it doesn't work out because of injuries or whatever, maybe then the rookie quarterback can come in when he's learned a little bit more, because it takes a while to learn these NFL playbooks.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, right now, the future of Sam Bradford, I can't put anything definitive on it. I think his future with St. Louis is basically done.
I think that his future as a starter may be done. 2 back-to-back knee surgeries.
I think he's got potential to fight for jobs, and I think he has potential to go to somewhere that needs somebody, maybe next year as like a, well, I guess just to fight for the job and say,
no one will offer
So he's
him
gonna
a large contract
he's gonna be
to
what
start.
he's gonna be what Henny is in Jacksonville.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
although I think Henny was a really smart guy going into that job. I don't know if Sam Bradford has the same football IQ. He was drafted high because of his physical presence, his arm strength, but it's a different quarterback in a different system, obviously, at that point.
Well, and I mean, Ram fans are probably right now, the biggest question is, what do we do right now? Quarterbacks on the roster. Sean Hill from Detroit. You have Austin Davis and Garrett Gilbert from Texas Longhorns and SMU.
Yep.
So he was at both schools coming in as a rookie. Do you just sit there and say, okay, Sean Hill, it's your ball. You're a placeholder until next season?
I think Sean Hill can do it. Kellen Clemens played last year for them and put up a decent performance, so I see no reason why Sean Hill couldn't.
We got to remember, though, Sean Hill, this is the reason why he's on this team. All right, Sam Bradford gets injured. Very similar to when our guy we're very familiar with, Stafford, got injured. Sean Hill comes in. All right, he's going to play, and for some magical reason, when Sean Hill plays, your quarterback, he's healthy next year, and he stays healthy. I think that's the hope here. They're being a little superstitious.
So you're hoping that, you know what, we're going to let him play, and then Sam Bradford comes back after 2 back-to-back knee
And
surgeries.
magically is better.
On the left knee, on the same knee.
Everybody in the world was saying Stafford would never be a good quarterback because he always got injured.
That's true.
See, I don't know. I am looking at this and saying there are, and in my mind, there are 2. You either, if you're not going to stay with Sean Hill, you look at it and go, what do we need to do to get either Ryan Mallett or Kirk Cousins over here so we can compete with this tough division?
I disagree. I got someone better.
Who?
Someone who was an ex-starter, unfairly lost his job.
If you say Tim Tebow, I am
Wrong,
going to...
But close.
Ugh.
Mark Sanchez.
He's on the Eagles, though.
Trade him. Why can't the Eagles trade him? They don't need him.
Okay.
You're not wrong.
Let him go.
Do you think
He
the
needs
Eagles
a better
would?
situation.
Do you think the Eagles would let him go?
I think they would gladly trade him for a pick or whatever because the team's probably going to be in the bottom half. The Eagles, and assuming
what was
that the
The
St.
Eagles?
Louis Rams
Oh,
in
okay.
the bottom half, yeah.
Okay.
The Eagles
no
are going
way
to
are-
probably be on the upper half, assuming
Sanchez
Nick
is
Foles
worth
gets
what,
his
like a
things
4th
together.
these days?
They could probably get a 3rd for him.
I don't know about that.
If you want a
4.
quarterback, I think here's the thing about Mark Sanchez. I said initially when he went to the Eagles, he made the wrong choice. He should not have gone to a team that was already set. He should have waited probably and got a team because you knew this was going to happen.
Sanchez
somewhere.
is an interesting fit there, though. I'll be honest with you.
He would be a
If
good
he were to go
quarterback.
to the Rams, because his whole thing was the Jets' offense was anemic. There was no one to throw the ball to. There was no one to help him out. They had that stout running game the first couple of years, but didn't keep running backs cycling through well enough to keep up that pace. So you get put him into a team that has a very good running back currently, has a good front line. Questionable, I mean, at this point, now the quarterback's going down again, but
Well,
has
and
a
I
decent
mean-
front line.
And I mean, you got to think.
And that
They've
defense
already-
we're all talking about.
Oh, exactly.
Like
St.
you
Louis.
said, that the running back that they have, the Rams, Zach Stacy.
He made a name for himself
Then they
last year.
drafted
We're
a guy
excited about
like
Trey Mason.
I'm excited for
Yeah.
Trey Mason, like
Yeah.
you just said, Mark,
He's got that big
because
play.
I don't know what he's going to do with Stacy there, but Dave, you're right there taking words out of my mouth. Big playability. Then wide receivers, Kenny, you got to be Brittany, Tavon Austin, and they even have Austin Pettis coming out of Boise State. I want good things to happen to him.
And the thing is, you can
Eh.
hope. You don't have to require that much
Say,
out of Mark Sanchez. Let him do
this
the
is-
short kind of dink and dunks, the things that he's always been.
Yeah, he got a
exceptional
team
at.
to the second round of the playoffs doing that.
Exactly. So that'll be good.
This-
They're all fast.
I say it's almost a better situation than the Jets had a couple years ago when he was a rookie in his
You're
in
talking
his
about
second
the
year.
AFC Championship year?
Correct. Yeah, he had back-to-back playoff runs in his first 2 years, both very successful with the same style of team. And honestly, I would argue that while this Rams team has a better front four, also has better wide receivers around him. So I think it would be a successful move to put him into that position.
And of course, this isn't
But we haven't seen Sanchez start. That's the other thing.
We've
seen play some preseason, but it's obviously a completely different system in Philadelphia right now. So you can't really compare apples to oranges there.
It's tough because obviously Sean Hill has the advantage. He's had more weeks to learn the system. Mark Sanchez has no clue what's going on in St. Louis.
And Dave, you're saying you can't compare apples to oranges, but can you compare apples to apples and say, okay, what did he do with New York? What can that bring over?
I think you absolutely can. His issue in New York, like I said, again, it was the lack of talent around him. There just was no signs of progression on Sanchez's end to, I don't want to say nurture the core around him to become better. He didn't really take on that leader role in the locker room. He didn't make the people around him better. He didn't progress along as well as much people wanted him to. So putting him into a setup where there's already these guys who have talent, Austin Pettis, maybe not be the best one, but
and I even forgot
Austin, Kenny Britt, and Zach Stacy.
Stedman Bailey, who was a huge target for RG3 in college. Another thing, who would you rather have as your head coach, Jeff Fisher or Rex Ryan?
Well,
I mean,
he had Rex Ryan in
you
Detroit.
obviously want Jeff Fisher.
Yeah, and he'd be getting that in St. Louis. To me, it's you either have two choices if you're the Rams. You either, what I would do, trade for a guy, Sanchez, Mallett, Cousins. Those to me are the three that are the top, tradable quarterbacks. You go out there, you have to compete.
Do you honestly think Cousins is tradable? They would trade Cousins at this point, though?
If the price was right,
shaky.
If the price was right, I think they would.
RG3s look shaky. Cousins came in, granted against second and third team defense, but he's looked very good.
Like I said, if the price, this is what I think about it. You can get Mark Sanchez for the cheapest, Kirk Cousins he's going to be more of an expensive trade, but not so much. Ryan Mallett's going to be, to me, I think the Patriots are the team where, okay, we're going to ask this for Ryan Mallett. If we let him walk, who cares? We let him walk.
They got something nice going on in New England. They've got your favorite boy, Garoppolo. Nice Italian name.
Is that Italian? I was going to ask.
They got him sitting there, and then they got Mallett, who is going to be able to walk soon.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. They can let Mallett go with little worry because the progression that Garoppolo has shown picking up on this offense, he's been very, very good in this preseason.
And you got to get something for Mallett because he's about to just say, see you guys later.
And he's been sitting on their shelf, and they've been asking, anybody interested? We're always shopping him. Every year it's Mallett's on the books. Who wants him? But nobody's picked him up, and he has had a little bit of a downturn in the preseason this year.
Chances he goes to the Rams. Chances the Rams call the Patriots and say, we want Mallett.
I don't know, maybe 15%.
I would say
I'm 15.
15. Yeah, I'm pretty low on him because I think the asking price will be too high for what the Rams are looking for in the situation. I think that they're either going to hold out with Sean Hill and, let whoever plays out the rest of the season do it, whether it be Garrett Gilbert eventually or whoever. I don't know. But they could lock themselves in for a top 10 pick to go out and get themselves, if they need to trade up again to get a better quarterback or whatever the case may be. There are enough quarterbacks coming out next year that could be franchise quarterbacks.
And that's something I was going to bring up where the thing about trading for a quarterback to be competitive, the Rams have to sit there and say, if we get a guy like Mallett, Cousins, Sanchez, are we going to be able to compete with the NFC West? If you are still sitting there going, no, we'll probably finish fourth at 8-8 or finish fourth at something and not make the playoffs, probably don't trade. Look for what's coming out because right now, Mark, you even said it when I texted you about it. Tank for Mariota.
Sure.
Well, Mariota's got on top of the charts right now.
Yeah, that's what we're saying right now. I mean, Embiid was top of the charts in the NBA, and look how that turned out.
Exactly. It's just tank for insert whoever.
Yep.
Yeah, by the end of the season, we'll actually see, I can't remember how high people were on Barkley coming into his final year, Sanchez coming into his final year. Every overhyped quarterback. You have to watch the season. These preseason rankings are usually off the charts. And, you have to watch the guy progress throughout the season. So
I mean, it was even with Johnny Manziel, because we have to mention him every podcast. We're obligated to.
Absolutely.
Where he was going to be
You know what, Mark?
arguably
I was trying not to say his name, but then you brought him up.
He arguably could have been taken number one without a problem.
Yeah, he could have been taken number one, goes 22. So, I mean, obviously not a huge fall, but it's enough of a fall to where if the Rams are 15 or something, they could have picked this guy up.
Yeah.
You know?
But, I mean, you still have a couple guys like Brett Hundley's going to be around.
He's going to come out more than likely. I mean,
exactly.
The more and more I research, there's a few guys in that Pac-12 that are like...
Pac-12 is going to kill each other. That's the only problem.
Yeah, and I mean, of course you have Mariota and Huntley both in the Pac-12, but then last season, Sean Mannon, Oregon State, he was second behind Derek Carr for most passing yards last year.
Well, Oregon State, their offense,
Just throw it.
I was going to say, they have some inflated numbers. It's not quite Texas A&M of the past couple of years, but, they put up quite a bit of yards.
Just throw the ball. Yep, that's all you need. But I
Texas Tech offense. Oh, my God, those ones, the 600-yard passers.
That's what you do in your NCAA games. You just go one of those teams because you're playing a quarterback and you want to throw it all day. But I will say, for the St. Louis Rams, it's very... Especially when you got a guy like Jeff Fisher, who's a smart-minded man. He's a great coach. I think he's thinking in his head. Of course, it's not completely his decision, but he's like, I think we're fine. We don't need anybody else. We're gonna just see what happens, and we'll see what happens with Sam Bradford. We will make the assessment. Maybe we're pick 5, and that top quarterback is sitting right there. We'll take him. Maybe not. Maybe the top 2 quarterbacks are taking 1 and 2, and we're 3, so we can trade back. There's so many options that are so far away. I don't think they need to make any decisions now.
You know what else I'm sitting here thinking about this Bradford injury?
Yep.
How many people who, thank God for us that our fantasy draft that we're in is tonight, how many people do you think drafted Bradford already and went?
For what? What? For your backup quarterback?
I'd say for anything. He's on your team.
You probably wanted him as a backup anyway, I'll be honest. There's more than enough stars unless you're playing like anything deeper than a 16-man league.
What if you're in that, like, the one league we saw that was a 20-man league?
Yeah, well, that's ridiculous. And that's your own fault.
You're asking for trouble, yeah.
I just think it's an interesting kind of meta thing around the league right now is if you don't have your franchise quarterback, you're kind of in football hell. Kind of like the NBA purgatory of you're not bad enough to get the top pick, but you're not good enough to make the playoffs.
Yeah, but the only difference with that is in the NBA, it's changing more so now, but if you get one of those top 5 guys, maybe top 3 to put more of a scope in on it, they can change the game right away.
That's the same what a franchise quarterback does for you.
If you draft
Russell Wilson comes in, RG3 comes in, Andrew Luck comes in.
Russell Wilson was a third
I realize
round
this.
pick.
I don't care. It's the fact that a franchise quarterback. It is the most impactful position in the game. And you see these teams in purgatory right now. St. Louis Rams, Arizona Cardinals, Kansas City Chiefs, Oakland Raiders, Tennessee Titans. I'd say Cleveland Browns, even though they did go out and get Manziel, who knows
right now.
Yeah,
but is Manziel... Do you think Manziel's going to develop into what he could be?
I don't know right now. But those 5 teams, and even the Jets, I would say, because I'm not a believer right now in their quarterback
Are you
stock.
also disappointed that Vic didn't try harder to get that starting job?
He knows it's in the bag.
Or one team,
but that's
one team I'm going to throw in on top of that.
Okay.
The Miami Tannehills.
I think Tannehill's still got a year, and he's going to make some progression now that he's got Laser in there.
But right now, it's what... To me, Tannehill is the closest to Bradford without the injury, where it's like, you've been in the league for a few seasons.
2.
Show me what you can do in this 3rd season.
I think he's got a much better offensive coordinator now, and I really am hoping that this team steps up. They've obviously still got some question marks, but I think this will be his season to kind of step himself out of that purgatory area. But honestly, that's 6-7 teams that are without a this is our guy kind of quarterback. And I mean, I'll give you this. The Kansas City Chiefs did have a phenomenal year last year, and maybe that was strength of schedule. maybe that was just
Contract
some
year
interesting
coming up,
luck.
though, for Alex Smith.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big decision for the Chiefs.
Same with the Titans. Oakland Raiders picked up Schaub, who everybody was like, well, maybe he still got it. Well, that preseason game this past week was well, no, he don't.
Well, look at even the Texans. Yeah, they've got Ryan Fitzmagic, but
That's right.
Is Savage? I almost call him
Tom Savage.
Is Savage? Is Keenum? Are they the guys that are going to be O'Brien's quarterback for the
Exactly.
future?
You got guys who are just there.
Hell, I would even put the Bills there with EJ Manuel. Is he the guy
I think
of the
he's
future?
young enough that we don't know yet. I would like to give guys 3 years. I mean, but most of these teams are teams with guys who have some experience in the league, have been around for a bit, but they're not going to take them to that final level. So I think it's interesting that there's that many teams stuck right now. And out of those teams, I mean, Oakland, I think they just kind of squalor draft picks, I'll be honest with you. That's their downside. St. Louis is the one, they gave up RG3. They were like, nah, we don't want him. Maybe a good move at this point.
Yeah,
but,
we still can't say for sure on that.
You know, that they did drop
pretty good,
millions and millions on Sam Bradford, so who's to blame there?
Well, and the one thing I'm thinking is you're going through all these teams that are like without a quarterback.
Without that franchise quarterback.
Well, let's say after this season, hypothetically, that just makes me think, what if Peyton Manning retires this season? Where does that put the Broncos?
Still a stacked team depending on who sticks around.
Because right now in the depth chart, I mean, Brock Osweiler, is he Zach Desert and Brian Rayner.
To be fair, even since I still have his stats pulled up in front of me, Mark Sanchez, you put him on a Broncos team, that team's still going to be in the playoffs.
They don't have the numbers.
Yeah, they're not going to have the numbers. They're not going to go as far, but you just need somebody who you can put in there, make smart decisions.
Unless they implode, they're really
Is Mark Sanchez a franchise quarterback still?
No.
That's the question.
He probably wasn't a franchise quarterback in New York either, but we just
journeyman.
weren't sure yet.
Yeah. I think he's a journeyman, and he'll do fine for the rest of his career. He's still probably got like 8 years or so.
This is going to be the guy who's, for us Chicago people, Rex Grossman and Kyle Orton. Traveling everywhere.
We're going deep.
Every year we hear another, a new location for our past quarterbacks. If you're a New York fan, that's exactly what Mark Sanchez is about.
Well, that's like, where Grossman just signed, right? This past week.
What is he, on the Browns now?
Yep, he's with Cleveland.
Bringing some of that leadership. Stringer.
Well, somebody's got to teach those youngins what's going on out there. Might as well be sexy.
That I found funny because the whole reason they signed him was, of course, he worked with Kyle Shanahan with the Redskins. Yep. But as soon as the Dolphins called him to come down and try out for them, Browns were like, we're signing you.
I think it's a smart move. Maybe you can show him how to throw the long ball.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
How to unleash the dragon.
He is an ex-Super Bowl quarterback.
He did go to a Super Bowl. Here's the thing for the Browns, though. They're a team where, obviously they've had so much talk about their quarterbacks, but even coming out of here, you could just see it, with anytime, what's his name, Pettin's talking out there. You can just see it in his eyes, and you can read his mind.
Who's this?
I don't know. Browns head coach. I don't know what is going on with my quarterbacks. I don't know what's going on. Maybe we made the wrong choice. You can just see that type of frustration and indecision. And there's so many teams that are like that. They aren't as high profile.
Well, you know why he's like that, right?
Because Johnny Manziel does whatever the hell he wants on social media.
Well, not just that. How many years did the Chud have with the Browns?
Well, he tied himself to a quarterback, and that's the same thing that happened. Same thing that happened here.
You know what?
Where is Brandon Weeden now?
And I will say,
Cowboys
this is
still?
one thing we have.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a Cowboy.
Backing up on the Cowboys.
Where you have a team, Jacksonville Jaguars, I love this example right now, who are saying, you're going to sit right off the bat. You are going to sit this year. I don't believe that he will sit the entire year, but that's what they're saying.
They've already got that trigger figure ready. I mean, he has been performing pretty well this preseason. He looks competent.
Chad Henne.
Yeah, nothing off Chad Henne, but he looks like a guy who I'd be like, yeah, I could see him as a starter right now.
Maybe that's the way that you kind of inflate your potential to as a head coach, just to say, hey, I got you guys a quarterback, but he's not going to start yet, so I get 2 years now. I'm not going to be Chud fired in one.
It's absolutely true because these coaches are cycled in and out of town based off of that initial success, and if you can't get that guy year one, you look terrible. You just look flat out terrible.
If you don't have Andrew Luck in his rookie season.
I was going to say, I mean...
Mark, you just... An idea for what to do right now. A little bit. You brought up Mike Pettin. Earlier today, I looked through an article on fanside.com, which was basically, what are the expectations for the new head coaches in the NFL. I'm going to leave that link down below for you guys if you want to see that. We're just going to go through them right now. Preseason 3 almost over. What are the expectations, Mike Pettin? He's the first one.
I would say expectations for him before this season ends. I want an answer of who our quarterback is. I mean, it sounds a little silly, but I want to know if Hoyer's going to stick around. I want to know if Johnny Manziel, and if Johnny Manziel is going to be our quarterback, I want him to play some games. We're not going to the playoffs, so let's let him play some games.
Absolutely. I think there's absolutely no harm in, after game 8 or 9 of the season, let's see what we got. I mean, there's no better time than now. Put him in. I mean, there's still that golden area of games that we had talked about previously. I think like week 4.
Is when we predict that Johnny Football will get his start.
I think it'll be a little later than that.
But week 4 lines up so perfectly. He's got the three tough games where they tank early, the bye week, and then bam.
But the thing about Johnny Manziel is he hasn't looked good in the preseason.
No.
I mean, he looks like a rookie.
Great. You're right. Well, but is that something that's so terrible?
I think if you're on a team like the Browns, yes.
I say it's so twisted these days between the instant success of Andrew Luck, RG3, Russell Wilson, Cam Newton. It's just stacks it so hard against these guys who come in and aren't like.
What's the bad part?
You get Jimmy Clausen out there who, is second round pick, but still goes out there for Carolina, doesn't do that great.
He gets fed to the dogs, yeah.
You know what's the only bad part with Johnny Football is if you're by an opponent's sideline and they say something like the Redskins did, where it's like, yeah, you can't do that anymore. We're too fast for you. This ain't college. And then you get upset and you flip the bird.
Yeah.
That's the part. It's for Manziel, it's all going to be about composure. And that's what I want to see this first year is just get composed.
And to be fair, the Browns defense has looked kind of bad this year too. Especially compared to last year.
When do the Browns ever look good?
Last year, the Browns defense looked really good.
Okay.
Now they've lost a few pieces here and there. So for me, as anyone, whether I'm a fan or if I'm in the organization, and for the Browns team, I just want to see them. I want to see them solidify a little bit. That's just what I had. You can keep your job if this team starts to solidify around something, because there's been nothing for this team to be. They don't have an identity. That's the big thing when we watch on Hard Knocks about the Atlanta Falcons. Coach Mike Smith is there saying we need an identity of toughness. People say we're not tough. This year we're going to show them that we are tough. And that's the identity they're building themselves around. You can see them fighting in camp with themselves, but hey, at least they're something. They're a tough team. Now, if it goes the way of the Detroit Lions with Jimmy Schwartz out there, we have a problem. But we just want to see this Browns team kind of solidify around some sort of ideal and identity, and that's what can keep you as the Browns head coach.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the Browns schedule right now, David, is week 5.
Week 5, thank you.
Because they have their first 3 games at Pittsburgh, then home against New Orleans, Baltimore, then a bye, then it's Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, Oakland, Tampa.
Yeah, they could easily be looking at a 0-3 start and some shaken confidence in Hoyer at that point.
I want to say one thing about Jacksonville, though.
And it's at Jacksonville, too.
Since before, when we did our previews where we were kind of predicting some of our things, I think we all kind of underestimated Jacksonville a little
definitely.
bit. They really look good in this preseason so far.
Blake Bortles looks great.
I actually think everything
the
about
team as a
Jacksonville
whole,
looks good.
I think the weirdest thing for me is I'm looking at that team going, well, number 1 wide receiver is who? Cecil Shorts by default at this point. But they've got Lee's done pretty well this preseason. They've got a couple of guys who have shown that they're capable.
Yeah.
Is Denard Robinson doing running back stuff or wide receiver stuff for them, or is he doing a little bit of column A, little column B?
But he's far in the depth chart, so it's
not
relevant.
So we're not, even though I've been seeing him in the preseason, we're not going to see him do anything?
I don't think we'll see much out of him, but I think he'll be Randall Cobb.
Okay.
Just a little further south where he's going to just be, we can put him wherever we want. We just want him to have the ball in his hands.
Yeah, no, I think Jacksonville should be fun to watch. It'll be more competitive than what we've seen last year, which was just I couldn't watch it. It was painful how bad they were. The team that I'm just a giant question mark about right now is the Titans, though.
I was actually going to bring them up next. Ken Wisenhunt, first year in Tennessee.
Yeah, no, it's a conundrum.
What's the expectations for Wisenhunt in Tennessee, Dave? Let us know.
It's a freaking conundrum. Jake Locker, when healthy, has looked okay, but he's been injured. And again, okay, is that really what you want your quarterback to be? Not ideal. They've got question marks left and right. The team kind of split off. I mean, obviously, new head coach, and they lost out on their top running back with CJ Noke.
Yeah, CJ Noke.
Taking the trip to the Jets. But they go out in the offseason, they pick up some talent in the running back area, and I don't know. This is a team where I just have a giant question mark. I don't know how they're going to do. I truly don't.
And I think you have to be aware of that right now. You can't have these delusions if you're within the organization of the Tennessee Titans. You know this is going to be taking probably a step back. I think right now, no matter what, if there's any job in the NFL where no matter what happens, you are safe, I think it's this Tennessee job.
Yeah, because there's no real expectation there for them to win now. It's not that type of environment. And they're not set up as a team that can just instantly turn around, snap, and win 10 games and make a playoff push.
Exactly. Unless they lose every single game for the next 2 years, Whisenhunt is fine for at least 3 years.
And I think Whisenhunt could be the right guy because his past successes, he can come in and take a team and give them I don't want to say a purpose, but mold them into some sort of, I'm blanking out here.
An identity?
An identity, thank you. A way that they can succeed, which I'm just not seeing on this Titans team yet. This preseason, Sean Green's looked very good.
You know
so
who
has
I want?
Bishop Shanky.
Yeah, that's who I was going to say. I want Bishop Shanky to do whatever you have to. I believe he can be the guy in Tennessee.
Well, the problem is they have 3 backs. Sean Green has looked pretty good. He was over 5 yards of carry.
You could even say 4. They got Leon Washington. They also got Dexter McCluster.
I don't count Leon Washington.
Okay.
I think
3.5?
3.5.
Okay.
I think McCluster's fantastic speed. He played wide receiver.
But is he going to be more of an offensive weapon?
He will be. And I think that's going to take away some carries. So I think between Green and Sankey at running back, McCluster can come out of the back or go wide either way. Justin Hunter exploded in the second preseason game with 2 touchdowns, 111 yards. They still have Nate Washington, Kendall Wright. Their offense has potential, but this is a team who's going to be stuck putting up, those 14 to 20-point games, and that just doesn't get it done in this high-flying offensive day and age that we're at.
Especially look at their division. I feel like more as we get closer and closer to the season, this is how I think the AFC South is going to go. Colts are going to run away with the division.
Yeah.
Blake Bortles is going to get the start second half of the season. Jacksonville's going to finish second. And then Titans-Texans or Texans-Titans, whatever they want to do.
It's an interesting division because apart from the Colts, who I think everybody agrees is they've got that division to lose, it's a true toss-up at this point.
Yeah, it definitely is. But I think it's kind of the toss-up of bad teams in a way, or teams that are all rebuilding.
Well, let me throw this at you, Mark. Bill O'Brien, Houston Texans. Expectations.
Defense has to be playing super tough because this is a defensive team. Obviously.
They've looked pretty good so far.
They definitely have, especially with Jadeveon Clowney being
added
back
to
to what
Swat.
we expect. You know, like he took that year off. We don't know where he went, but he wasn't playing football.
He was basically just saying, "I'm not playing until I get my money."
Exactly.
I'm okay with that because that was the whole discussion to begin with. So.
And I think when it comes to the offense, it has to be better than last year. As long as it's better than last year, life is good.
But who's the quarterback going to be? That's the biggest question.
We don't have one on our roster yet, I think. I think there's
you don't have that guy.
I think basically they have Fitzmagic, who's going to be there, maybe 1 or 2 years.
Which, I don't know, if I was a Texan fan, that would concern me a bit because you went out and, I know it was a late pick, but you drafted a guy like Tom Savage.
I don't think people are expecting anything out of Tom Savage. I think your average Houston Texan fan probably doesn't know that he was drafted.
I don't know. I like those
He's what, a 4th-round pick?
Yeah, but how much they hyped him during the draft and how they're like, oh, he was good in college. Could he be the next Russell Wilson?
Let's be fair, though. There wasn't really – the only reason he was hyped was because we had an extra month to go.
True.
I think most people who would know who Tom Savage is were all sitting there going, we know this isn't real. Mm-hmm. We know this is just kind of a time filler. I find it funny that most of these teams – I'm going to say all these teams, we're talking about how bad they are. Like you said, Dave, no franchise quarterback.
Well, the weird thing is, this is a Texans team who 2 years ago was right there in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And really, they've only lost out on quarterback at this point.
Well, last year everyone expected them to compete for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and Schaub just didn't have it anymore. He's done.
Do you think Andre
Packed it in.
Johnson's going to be on the team at the end of the season?
I think he is.
Yeah,
I
would
think
expect
they
him to
couldn't move
retire
him.
there, to be honest.
They couldn't move him in the offseason, or they didn't want to move him. He wanted to go. But if it didn't happen then, it's not going to happen during the season.
Yeah,
I think he's a stand-up guy enough. He'll play through the season. He doesn't give
exactly, and I think things are gonna get better. I think he'll see that it's getting better. I honestly can see him staying with the Houston Texans for the rest of the career, unless there's another one of these super, Peyton Manning goes somewhere else again, and they need a new wide receiver. I'll go there. Like, unless there's some huge star power attracting him over there, I see him staying in Houston.
Moving to the NFC, Tampa Bay, Lovie Smith. Expectations.
Lovie Smith, 7-9. That rings a bell if you're a Chicago fan.
Yeah, it's
and
tough.
He can't beat Green Bay.
It's tough. It's really tough.
Do the Buccaneers play Green Bay this year? I'm
No,
going to look it up.
I don't think so.
The big holdup here is obviously the fact that he's going with a I don't know the nice word, a older quarterback.
Ex-Bear quarterback.
I don't know.
Very unproven.
yeah.
Besides that one,
He had one fantastic season.
Outlier.
Other than that, he's been just subtly in the background, going through team by team.
week
Journeyman,
16.
that was the word.
Week
Journeyman
16.
quarterback.
Green
Week
Bay versus
16,
Tampa.
Green Bay at Tampa. So that's a loss.
Alex doesn't have to go to Green Bay, though.
No, but he's got to go to Chicago
And he
on
lost
November
out.
23rd.
He lost out on a top corner when he came to town. He just wasn't a Shiano man.
Which doesn't make sense to me. You know how awesome it would have been to have Revis and a Lovie Smith.
Oh.
It does. Okay, well, fantastic. It's the whole fact that Lovie Smith has to build up the defense to where it is a Lovie Smith defense.
Yeah.
Remember how the corner is like an afterthought. He needs that pressure up front, which makes the corners, which allows the corners to take advantage of the quarterback's short time with the ball. And they can anticipate those routes, jump the ball, and come up with ridiculous picks. And it's just a fantastic system that was figured out about 6 years ago, unfortunately.
Yeah. But, I mean, in this case, I think Lovie Smith is safe for a few years as well. I think he's...
If they go 8-8, is that a good season?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's a great season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to
Yeah.
go 8-8.
I don't
New
think they
head
will,
coach,
but-
no quarterback? That's fantastic.
No quarterback?
I mean, you got a guy who's known for basically surprising the world because he used to be a high school gym teacher. And now... Or I
He
think
still
was
wants to be a high school. He still wants to go back.
And then you have the Glennon, who somehow is still on the roster. They haven't found a way to get rid of him.
Mike Lennon, do you think he can come back and take his job back this year?
No.
He might have a shot on it. He might honestly have a shot if McCown does not do well, because I don't think anyone's really expecting no one's really expecting Josh McCown to do that well out there. Unless, except for the delusional Chicago fans who still think we should have kept him and replaced Jay Cutler with him.
Yeah, I'd say they were the ones who wanted Cutler out of town and to roll with him going forward as a franchise.
But besides that, I think Lennon's going to do okay.
But
He
you
might
guys,
have his
you guys
day.
are saying in Jay we trust, right?
I'm good with Jay. He's the best quarterback Chicago Bears have ever had.
That's true.
I mean, honestly,
Statistically
to be fair,
true.
that doesn't say that much, but
Better
still.
better than McMahon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, God, yes.
McMahon benefited from what Jay Cutler, I wish, would have benefited from if
A
he was on our
defense?
team.
I'd say if you
a
could
little
slide
earlier.
Cutler back about 5 years.
God. Imagine
Would've
this
been dirty.
offense. If we had this offense at the same time we had our Super Bowl defense, not the first Super Bowl,
You're talking about
The 2006
we let him
Super
off the
Bowl.
hook
Yes.
defense.
God, it would have been amazing. That would have been the best
I was going to say,
football team to ever grace the planet.
it would have been
I
pretty
will
good.
say it right here.
Pretty good.
Long live Ditka.
Okay, Dave, I'm going to throw this one at you. All the coaches that we've talked about so far, first years, haven't had that franchise guy. Jay Gruden does. Redskins, Jay Gruden expectations for the season.
Is that why you threw it at Dave?
Yeah.
Yeah, for RG3.
I'd been talking up this team so much in the offseason, and it's just so disappointing and soul-crushing how poorly they
I love how you add soul crushing.
It really well, when you invest in a team, like I was like, yes, this is it. It's going to work. The setup's here, and RG3 is back and healthy. And no, he is not looking right. Like something about his play is off right now, in a bad way, in a very bad way. I don't know what it is, but Cousins looks like a better quarterback than him. Cousins may be a better quarterback than him at this point. I don't know if it's the system. I don't know if it's he doesn't have the same trust in his body right now, or if he doesn't know the system well enough to be comfortable in it. All of them could be factors. But this is a team that should have been set up to go right back to a successful season. And now I've got a question mark if they're going to go 500. I don't think that he's in trouble his first year. I think he's got a 2-year area of safety basically because RG3 is coming off of that poor season. It's a situation he walked into.
Don't hit the panic button, Dave. That's all I'm going to say. Because the preseason is...
I know preseason.
This is the thing about Jay Gruden that I like. And all I want to see... If I see the bare minimum, I want to see a connection between RG3 and his 2 stout wide receivers. Because what Jay Gruden was able to do with Andy Dalton and A.J. Green... Now he's got RG3 with Deshaun Jackson on one side and Pierre Garçon on the other.
Sure. Here's my thing, though, and what concerns me for Jay Gruden. Because, I have nothing against the guy. I'll root for him to succeed, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're already getting reports, whether they are false or whatever, that the locker room is starting to turn on RG3.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's true or not, we can't say. We're not there. But that's what it seems like. And I think if he continues to not look good, we're going to have a quarterback controversy in a new head coach's first year.
So it's going to be the let Kirk Cousins start show again.
I mean, at this case, if he goes bad, it'll be 2 years in a row of he's not looking good. Fans of football tend to have short attention spans, or not short-term memory in this case. So I think they'll be sitting there going, let's see what the other guy. Remember, we took 2 quarterbacks, third-round quarterback.
Yep.
Russell Wilson's a third-round quarterback. Why not Kirk Cousins? I know that's a crazy comparison, but hey, anything looks better when you're not playing well. And I will say that'll be the thing. The only thing that I think will take Jay Gruden down early, that's what it is
the quarterback controversy.
Yeah, fans speak up and ruin things. Let's be honest. They're fans for a reason. Fan is short for fanatic, and there's no logic.
Okay, Cowherd.
I know. I went there. I haven't listened to Cowherd in such a long time.
But you said that, and I'm like, that Cowherd.
That's classic Cowherd.
Cowherd would say that.
He did say that quite some time ago, though, about a year.
What about Detroit Lions Jim Caldwell? For me, the expectation for Caldwell is just have a more mature head coach in the room, and let's do better.
I think he has high expectations. This is a team that has been ready to go for 3 years now, and
they've had the little hothead kid in the room as their head coach.
They just keep pooping their pants.
Things have been falling
They dropped the ball.
Things just keep falling off of that team every time. It always looks good, but slowly things fall apart, and now it doesn't look so great anymore.
The search for wide receiver number 2 is still on.
This is one of those situations where the house looks really nice,
Tate.
and then you go inside and the walls are falling apart.
Yeah, you should know about that, Mr. House Hunter.
I've been looking. But no, you're right. I mean, this is a team that on paper, it's that Madden team.
Exactly.
It's like the dirty things I could do in Madden with this team. And nope, guess what? So what the fact that they have a ridiculous front four? So what the fact they've got Megatron and Stafford? Doesn't matter. They can't put it all together at the same time, so you're not going to win games.
I think Caldwell should be safe because he's, Jim Caldwell. You're not going to get rid of him after one season.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for this team, don't get buried because you're going up against some very strong offenses. And then this is a locker room win. Win the locker room and you can keep your job. That's all I got to say.
Last but not least, the last one. Zimmer with Minnesota.
Interesting situation.
Are they still playing football in Minnesota?
Yes, they are still. I hope they are because
Really?
I'm a fan.
Okay. Well, that's news to us.
I wasn't sure.
How hard can Adrian Peterson carry this team without a quarterback again? No.
I hope really hard because I have draft pick number 1.
Okay, at the minimum, what I want to see from the Vikings, make sure Teddy Bridgewater's the guy by the end of the season.
I think
that's the bare minimum.
He's shown that he's competent in the preseason, which is like saying that you have 2 hands. I mean, that's all it proves. All I want to see is by the end of the season, I think you're right. I want to see him playing by the end of the season. I think if they are going to move forward as a franchise, you need to acknowledge that Castle is their go-between until he's ready. And you know what? Maybe he'll only get to play in dead time, like week 15 to week 16. But still, it's the fact that the acknowledgement that, we're all in on Bridgewater at this point. He's the guy. We believe in him, so we're going to put him in.
See, I just, at the bare minimum, make
Bare
sure
minimum?
Bridgewater's the guy. But I would
Bare
like to
minimum.
see you're a defensive-minded head coach. If the offense is kind of wishy-washy because Bridgewater is developing and we have to go at Matt Castle early, fine. In that case, the defense, what you're strong at has to be strong on the field now.
Here's what I'll say for Zimmer. You got to beat one of these rivals. And I can, for the Minnesota Vikings, either Detroit, Green Bay, or Chicago.
Okay.
You have to beat one of them once. I mean,
Okay.
obviously you're not going
Once?
to get
That's it, yeah.
fired if you lose to all of them. Don't get swept in your division, and I think Minnesota are going to be.
I say,
See-
I think Minnesota goes in with pretty low expectations right now. But again, this is a team that once they do establish that quarterback, I don't know your defense. That's the biggest question. When you said he's a defensive coach, you're like, yep. And now what is he going to do with that defense? I don't know. He's got Kyle Rudolph on offense. He's got Cordell Patterson. They can make things happen in the passing lanes. But the defense, I'm still just like, well, we took Jared Allen, so that leaves you with, well, I know you went out, got some young secondary help.
I just
right?
want the defense to be, if we can just compete with the division, going what Mark said, if we can if we can slow down the Bears, slow down the Packers, slow down the Lions, keep games close.
So
I'll
your
be
job is to
happy.
be a spoiler.
Yeah. Because, to be
I can
honest,
appreciate that.
even as a Vikings fan, I don't have high hopes for my team this year.
Well, for the Vikings,
could be
it's
a
the same
top
thing as
5 pick.
always. You have Adrian Peterson, so your defense has to keep it
We
close.
have the Adrian
If your
Peterson.
defense doesn't keep it close, the ball is not in Adrian Peterson's hands, and you
Mhm.
lose. That's as simple as it gets.
That's it. That's it. That's all. I don't know what to say, or else I'm going to get a hot head because I want the Vikings to do well, but they're not going to do well. And
Why won't they do well?
as long as we
let's
don't
poke the bear here.
as long as we don't have Christian Ponder as our quarterback, I'll be happy.
Where is
He's
CP?
third stringer.
Third stringer.
Yeah.
Could he be a candidate
No,
for the
No.
Rams?
I would love it, but no. I would trade him in a heartbeat. I would give him to you for a 7th round pick.
Would they give him a 7th round for Christian Ponder?
Here's a question, Ricky.
He did pretty well without a wide receiver. Let's be fair. He did pretty well
But he
without
had
having.
AP.
It doesn't matter.
Is
he
Zach
didn't have a wide
Stacy AP?
receiver. Not yet. Not ever.
Not yet.
Not yet. Not ever. But he is a capable running back, and they do have options out there.
Mm-hmm.
He's somebody who they get on the cheapsies, but is he better than Sean Hill? I don't even know.
Very, very cheap. Did you guys got a 9th round pick for us? We'll take one of those.
We'll take a 9th. Yeah, I like that 9th round pick.
A 9th rounder.
As soon as you guys get the very last pick in the draft, very last 7th round, we'll take it. You can have Christian Ponder for now. Just give it to us whenever you get it.
Well, that's going to do it here for the Onside Kick. Make sure you guys leave your comments and the like button, subscribe button. Hit that. Tell us what you thought of the podcast. Check out our other ones. Tune in next week. For Ricky Widmer, Mark, and Dave, have a good day, everybody.
Maybe we'll all be here next week.